I want to expand a little more on the subject of truth and on Bion's life. Again, I'm proposing points from Bion's biography not as a historical collection of facts to memorize, but in order to emphasize several things that connect Bion's biography and truth. Bion was born British to an English family in India, which at that time was a British colony. He was born into a class that had to be associated with the upper British class and know all kinds of ceremonious customs, knowing how to tip, how to ride horses, and how to give instructions to servants. On the other hand, it was a class that struggled economically. That is to say, Bion lived in an environment of concealment in which the truth, the simple truth, that there was a lack of money, couldn't be said. And this bothered him. The truth. What is the truth, and can it be thought and said? At the age of 8, he was sent to England to a private school, since the family of his class had to send their children to a private school, provide them with proper education, and demonstrate they had a child worthy enough with a certain familial prestige to be sent to a private school in England. At the age of 8, he was sent from India to England, remaining outside of his nuclear family from that age. There's a big difference between the actual emotional experience he went through as a child, away from his family, and the truth that society and family, and perhaps even he himself, told themselves. And it was about how many rights that child had. What was the actual experience of the child? Can we allow it to be? Can we be receptive to it, even if it's in a pre-verbalized state? At the age of 17, Bion entered the army, enlisted in the First World War, became a tank officer, and experienced harsh horrors and traumas. He tried to tell himself the truth about the war. For example, at the end of the war, he received the Medal of Honor, and they wanted to give him a higher medal for his courage. When they asked him, "Do you really want to receive this honor?" Bion muttered, "Oh yes sir, very much. Well, not really sir." And he did not receive this decoration. At a later point in his life, he recounts that he was very lucky as he was not worthy of receiving this honor. As he explains, if he had agreed to receive the medal, he would have sinned toward the truth. The truth is that during the battle, there was no courage and no bravery. There was fear, there was survival, there were automatic action, and the situation was like acting under the effect of anesthesia. To call this courage would be disloyal to the truth. He said if he had agreed to receive this medal, there would be one of two outcomes. Either he would have tried all his life to live up to the standard of courage, even though there is no chance of meeting that standard, or he would have given up and retreated into some kind of depression or despair, as he could not meet that standard. This demonstrates the point made by the Symingtons related to truth. The truth is more important than psychological comfort, than telling a story to oneself. There's a very beautiful song in Hebrew that says, "In the paradise of childhood," conveying an idealistic and nostalgic notion of a beautiful childhood. I don't think that Bion would have gone with this nostalgia. What was the experience in childhood beyond nostalgia, beyond the story, beyond the narrative, beyond what our parents tell us, beyond what we want to tell ourselves and others to us? What was the actual experience of the child? My dear late grandmother used to say that whoever called old age the golden age was probably a fool or an idiot. Old age, she said, is often not a golden age. It is a rough age in which you have to face certain facts of life. She used to say, "Never in my life have I needed my mother and my father as much as I do at this age." She deeply needed people who would care for her. So we go with the line of truth. Bion, of course, is not the only one pointing to the truth. For example, Freud did too. We all know Freud tried to state the truth of the bourgeois class in Vienna in the last century beyond the ties and the suits. And he revealed the truth of the impulsive unconscious, the truth that is hard at times, writing that what motivates us is sexuality, aggressiveness, pettiness, greed, envy, and competitiveness, and to what extent those things direct and activate us de facto, beyond everything we like to tell ourselves. So Bion was not the only one who aspired to touch the truth, but according to the Symingtons, Bion went further and deeper than Freud. While Freud formulated a collection of understandings representing some deep truth, Bion went further and touched on a deeper layer, a deeper truth. Bion went to the dimension of the unknown, to where we do not know. From Bion's point of view, at the heart of the human being, there are not only impulses from an impulsive animal that wants to survive, governed by the pleasure principle. At the heart of the human being, beyond the impulsive animal core, there's an unknowable mystery. We are unknowable entities governed by some kind of a truth principle. We are mysterious beings searching for truth. We are full and surrounded by mystery, making the starting point of the human, the unknown, the mysterious, and the infinite. At one stage in his life, Bion stopped using Freud's distinction between conscious and unconscious, and began to speak of the finite and the infinite. From Bion's point of view, the infinite and the unknown are prior to the known and the finite. And Bion delved into the investigation of the human experience and touched upon its unknown origins. From those that cannot be known, he began to trace and describe a movement related to the art of not knowing and to the contact with truth. I think this is a sufficient introduction to allow us to examine Bion's most famous and quoted statement that the therapist must be present in the clinic without memory and without desire.